I'm a big fan of connecting the dots. And in this case, I'm going to connect dots with a few of my videos that I've done. If you haven't watched these, I will put the links in the description so you can. But let me give a brief overview, and then I'll explain why I'm doing this, and also why into 2025, we could have very positive news for NIO Stock and other Chinese EV manufacturers. So hang on, wait for that. First off, this video is called NIO as an IDE, or NIO equals IDE. For me, I wanted to pick a company that had the growth potential and trajectory of an IDE that's an innovative driven enterprise. In this video, I break down and have comparisons, in fact, between other companies and NIO as to why I liken NIO to them. For example, Amazon, Apple, Tesla, Nvidia, these were also IDE companies. I do have timestamps created to make it easier because it's a longer video. With these longer videos, 8 minutes and longer, if there are ads throughout the videos, I try to create timestamps to make it easier and more convenient for you as a viewer to jump around in case you don't want to watch the whole video. So let's move on now to the second one. And this is another dot. I believe these two things are related. NIO penny stock, fear mongering. But what I did in this one is I talked about some of those same companies that I just mentioned, Amazon, Apple, Tesla, Nvidia, as examples of companies that traded at essentially penny stock values at a different point, like an earlier stage in their growth trajectory. And before they were really known, as they were still building out and creating infrastructure to eventually have a massive global or multi-regional impact. That's important. And that's also part of why the long-term play with this and not looking at it as just a short-term play, it does make a difference in my view, in my mind and opinion. The next one is this. A lot of people, and in fact, a recent comment, which I'll highlight here in just a second, had asked about, what's going on with the NIO stock price. I think this video kind of summarizes some of the things and talks about some of the things that go on that a lot of people are not aware of. And over the last few years, I've continued to study, research, try and learn. And this is a nice breakdown, including again with timestamps because it's a longer video, but it's a deeper dive. Now, this doesn't certainly explain or offer all of the things that are going on, but there are a lot of things that might open your eyes if you haven't seen it. Let's move into, there's one more thing that I want to share, and that is, it's actually from the comments section. So let's talk about that. A special shout out to Charles for this comment. He says, the saying, wake up and smell the roses, couldn't be more true when it comes to the American perspective on Chinese tech, especially with EV makers like NIO. Ford and GM should be eager to partner with companies like NIO, Xiaopeng, Li Auto, and BYD to learn from their innovations. Biden and Harris need to reevaluate and welcome the competition, particularly if these companies are willing to establish auto and battery manufacturing factories in the USA. Now, this is my response, and then I'm going to show the clip from the interview that I referenced here. I said, I need to dig up the old, from 5-ish months ago, interview with Trump, where he talked about being open to Chinese manufacturers coming into the US so American jobs can be created from it. Maybe I'll dig it up and do a video on it, have a list of other things I need to cover as well in new content. And so that's a part of my reason for this video. So stay tuned for that. I'm going to show, and it's about a 5 to 10 second clip is all, but I'll also link, I'll put it in the description so you can see the point at which he talks about this, Trump, in this interview. But here's the other comment that I want to talk about, and this is why I shared those links. This is from someone also in the comment section, why NIO stock price is so low and when and what will make it start trading up. And so that's when I decided, these 3 videos that I've done, they offer, I think, really important points or dots. And if you think in terms of, as my view is the long term, and you're willing to wait for a company that is a true IDE to grow and build out and establish a massive global footprint, which is exactly what NIO is looking to do, I think that's important to have that lens and understanding that they do need time. Their growth trajectory is not fast. They're not like a small, medium enterprise, which is an SME, essentially a smaller, more localized business. So with that in mind, I recognize that I need to be patient, and that's just the reality. So the other is the penny stock connection. And I think, as we've seen, a number of companies trade at very low valuations early on before they had established themselves as IDEs, innovative driven enterprises. I do think there is a link, a correlation. I think a piece of it, or a portion of that, also comes back to some of the shorting, and that creates volatility at earlier stages with these companies, with the stock price and the way that they move. And so that's why I shared that third video about the NIO stock volatility. All right, now let's get over, and this is just, like I said, a few seconds is all I'm going to highlight here.
It's great economically for us, and it brings our companies back, because if you charge tariffs to China, they're going to build their car plants here, and they're going to employ our people.
It's a simple view, but it makes sense. And this is something that I was watching before, because, for example, for those unfamiliar with it, I was kind of watching to see if BYD was going to end up building a factory in Mexico. And I was waiting and watching to see how that would play out. Those are the kinds of things that will shift and make important and significant changes, even if we're talking about, at the bottom of the screen, the first major growth phase for NIO, which is market awareness. And I'm not talking about just in China. I'm talking about in China, in the Middle East, in Asia, in Europe, in North America, in possibly down the road, South America, Central America. I think, Africa. I think that the global footprint of a company like NIO, it's hard to even recognize just how big it can be at this stage, at this point. But that's also, again, back and in line with why, for me, choosing an IDE company and recognizing and giving it the time that it needs. And for me, it's actually easier to do these three down at the bottom of the screen rather than a time frame, because it's easy to throw out a number like 2025 or 2030 or 2035, but it's easier for me to track something like market awareness. And here's a simple but I think important point to note with respect to that. Even within the Chinese market, people who are still learning about the brand NIO within their home market, they are not fully aware of the true value and the flexibility that is offered through power swap stations, through the ability to not just charge their EVs if they buy them from NIO, to also be able to battery swap them. And so the fact that we're still at such an early inception and inflection point, even within that massive market, the most important in the home market for this brand, I just think it's a nod that we're still pretty early in this thing. So when that shifts, and as the company becomes very well known in China, and then eventually as it starts becoming better known in places like Europe, and frankly, I'm in the US, and I rarely talk to people who even heard of this company at this point, which again is a nod to it being so early. Market awareness is still the key point at which we are. After that takes shape, after NIO starts taking a more significant piece of the market share in China in the BEV, the battery electric vehicle market, I think we'll see profitability. I don't think it's too far away. I do think that NIO and William Li, the CEO, the co-founder for NIO, is going to have some control over when they show that. And I need to talk about that in a separate video. That's one of the videos I'll be doing. I've changed my view a little bit because I had made a prediction about a profitable quarter, and I'm going to change that and explain why, because there were some things that I think he sort of indicated and told us in the first quarter earnings. So I want to cover that, highlight it, and explain why I'm thinking what I am, and why I think I maybe have a better view of what he thinks and is seeing with respect to profitability down the road. And this is kind of the third major growth phase. Once there are 1 million of NIO's main brand, the premium brand, cumulatively on the roads, that's when I'll be able to say, okay, what is battery as a service? What does this subscription service look like? And how is the company NIO looking from the standpoint of early or starting to mature? And, because at some point a growth company really is going to hit its stride. And I think by then we'll have a better clue, a better understanding, a better sense of where they are, not just in China, but across the globe. Anyway, that's my thought. I will do the same as what I've done in some of these longer videos. If they're over 8 minutes and there will be ads in them, I will create the timestamps down below so you can get into the links and check out the timestamps, jump around as you choose. Like the video if you in fact like some of the content. Come back and see me again. Subscribe if you're not subscribed to the channel. Thanks. Have a great day. I'll see you all again very soon.